Welcome back to the Bible Study Girl podcast. This is Sarita, but you know me as Bible Study Girl. And with that nice falsetto greeting, it's none other than Bible Study Brother, the executive producer of this podcast.
Hello, it is I, Icarus. It is I, Bible Study Brother, also known as Icarus Gray, over at Gray Area Anime, and this is the most wonderful podcast of your day.
You know, I want to start off today by thanking you guys for being such faithful listeners, for being so engaged, and for caring so much about what's happening in our lives and what we're doing. I'm not going to lie to you. I started to leave y'all hanging today. It has been a very, very busy season in my life. And I have lots of responsibilities. But when I was going through to look to see which blog was next up on the block to discuss, do you know what popped up? Good Steward. So if you're following along, we're doing a blog recap where we're going back in time to the very origins of the BibleStudyGirl.com website. And we're discussing the different blogs that I wrote then. We're going through a progression. We're trying to see how things have changed, if things are better, if things are worse, and really just discuss the blogs in more detail. So like I said, the blog we're discussing today is Good Steward. Just Ari was kind enough to update the website. So now you can just click on the magnifying glass in the upper right-hand corner and type in Good Steward, and that blog will pop up for you to read, for you to get a little bit more insight and information. And really, I think it's a great read. It actually motivated me today to continue podcasting and do what I have been called to do. So what is the Good Steward blog all about? Well, I'm going to tell you, give you a brief synopsis. It literally is what the title says, being a good steward of all that God has provided you. I start off the blog letting you know that my bank account was in the negative. Wah, wah. And I also let you know it's not because I don't have a good paying job. It really is because of poor management, which really made me think about the ways that I don't necessarily manage everything that the Lord has provided for me in an appropriate manner. Not just my finances, my time, my resources, my talents, all those things belong to God. And it's my responsibility to be a good steward of those. Yeah. A very time. See, the sound is delayed because Bible Study Brother and I are on Zoom. So I pick up on the audio cues a little late, but that was a very good one. Very good choice, my friend. So Bible Study Brother, we talk about stewardship. Would you say that you're a good steward of your finances, of your time, of your talents, all those things, of your gifts?
I think I'm becoming better now. But prior to, I put all of my faith, so to speak, in the job I was at. It wasn't because of, and we talked about this like in the past couple of episodes, because of how we were raised. I think very literally. So the thought processing behind working at a job was that's where my faith was. Like, God can't do nothing if I ain't out here working. Like, God can't do nothing if I'm not clocking in these 40 hours, working overtime, or doing all this other stuff. Like, God not going to work with my talents off nothing. I got to make sure I got this in the bank, that over here. We talked about this with our hypothetical that time. The reason it's like, because it's a literal thing of, well, I would want to see this before I plant a seed in this. And so my actions or act in terms of stewards or being a good steward, and believing in the things that he's given me, and then also understanding that it's all his, was not something that, I was not that. Um, I know that a lot of last year and this year has been to mold me more into that, in understanding those things. And I don't know, the blog, reading it, and I know I read that one. I know I've at least read that one before. Um, obviously long time ago at this point, but
Yeah, almost
um,
3 years ago. Yeah.
but I remember that time, because that was like we was having a lot of conversations during that time. And I don't know, man. It's just one of those that's just like charging my spirit, especially given where I'm at now with trying to like build a YouTube channel, trying to get an album ready, trying to fully use all of my gifts, trying to be better with our podcast, in um production, and trying to work things out, and trying to get things together. Um Trying to actually use the gifts, and even when I was talking to you the other day about us trying to find a church up here, and being like, I'm not stepping back to, like, if there's I don't care if you just let me preach once a year, I'm not stepping back into a church house and being told I can't preach.
Right. I think it's so important. It's easy to lose sight of, it's easy to get caught in our day to day responsibilities, the things that we have to do for survival, um, that we lose sight really and lose focus that we need to be good stewards of our time, that we need to be good stewards of our talent, that we need to be good stewards of our finances. I know, I would say that really all of those things are things that I struggle with. Mama would say I'm spoiled. I would say I'm well taken care of. And I would say
You gonna get the folks to believe it.
I would say the Lord has richly provided. And I think because oftentimes, man, I like financially, once I reached a certain point, okay, let me go all the way back. When I graduated from graduate school, I had no money. And my thought process was, okay, now I'm finally going to be really working. I'll be working in my profession. So my plan was to live like I lived when I was in graduate school. I mean, when I was in graduate school, I was on food stamps. Of course, once I got a job in my career field, they would not allow me to have food stamps. But I was like, okay, girl, you know how you were very careful with your money because you didn't have much of it. You stay on that same track, save up some money. You can go ahead and pay off these student loans. If you continue to live like you lived in grad school for maybe 5 or 6 years, then, your student loans will be paid off and then you could ball out. Well, we know that ain't what happened. I had spent several years robbing Peter to pay Paul, working hard. And I felt like I needed to treat myself. And here it is. How long I've been out of school? Graduated in 2007. Here it is, 15 years later. And I still feel the need to treat myself. And honestly, not just myself. Like anytime anybody has had a need, I'm like, well, I have money, so let me meet that need. Like I feel like that's what the Lord put me here for. You need this, I could cover this. I got that. Don't worry about it. I got you and me and everybody else. But that doesn't necessarily mean I was a good steward of that money. Was the Lord telling me to do that? Or was I just trying to be everybody's Jesus? That's not my role.
It took forever for me to even believe this from you because, and I know you always say I look at you differently, but I just know how much you think stuff and think things through. So it wasn't until because I was like always incredibly scared to get credit cards and stuff. I just didn't want to do it
Right.
because the way mom would talk about it to me was, it was way more daunting in terms of building credit. Like her perception of me was I just was gonna mess everything up. Is how some of that stuff came off because it was
Mm-hmm.
overprotective and trying to give me information, but at the same time made me more fearful than actually understanding. No, you just have to be conscious. So I'm
Right.
like, I just knew because of the things you did that you had stuff managed. And it wasn't until I think we had the first conversation about it, you was like, no, I was hungry one day and I wanted to get a sandwich.
Well, I was in college. I was hungry. I did not have money. And so I was with my bestie and my other good friend. We were in Subway. And of course, college campuses are notorious for credit card companies being there. Anyway,
Predatory credit card companies.
they were giving out free sandwiches if you applied for a credit card. You did not have to be approved, just apply for this credit card and you can get a free sandwich. So I got a free sandwich and 2 credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
And I used those credit cards to live. I needed the money. In grad school, the second year, we were working in our profession, but we weren't getting paid for it. So we had to work a 40-hour week that we weren't getting paid for because we were getting experience. Well, experience wasn't paying my bills. And so I had a job that I would work on the weekends. I would work a 16-hour shift. I still had rent to pay. I had a car note to pay. I needed to eat. I was not making that much money to cover all those things, which is why I took out over what I needed to be able to attend graduate school to help me live. But it still wasn't enough. I didn't have enough money. I just didn't. It wasn't a matter of, oh, you have an abundant, and no, it was like, is you gonna eat today? You're gonna put gas in this car to drive to these jobs that you're not getting paid for. Like, so it was that. Now, when I got out of college, I was able to pay those 2 credit cards off. But because I knew that money was always available to me, I wasn't as careful with my actual cash flow as I should have been. And it is a trend that has followed me for 15 years. And so I want to be intentional about my finances. I also want to be intentional about my time. Mm-hmm. I tend to waste a lot of time. I live alone. So I really don't have somebody that I'm accountable to.
You don't live alone. You have a very capable roommate. Oh, sorry, Felix. Okay, thank you.
Yes, I do have a little roommate, and he thinks this is his house. Well, it is his house because he lives here, but like he feels like I am solely his, and I am here to do his bidding.
As most kids do.
So, like I said, I don't have anybody to be accountable to do certain things. When you live with somebody, a human, they know your activities. They can kind of say, you've been lazy here lately or whatever, And I don't have that accountability.
Yeah. Listen, here's the thing.
But here's the thing too. You can't just let the dishes sit in the sink for a week without somebody saying something. Do you know what I'm saying? I am here, so I'm accountable. I have to be accountable to myself for the condition of my home and for what I do with my downtime. And I'm not always productive. Not saying that I don't feel like I should have to operate from a spirit of just busy, but the time I spend watching reality TV, I really could like study the Bible. I really could pray. And I'm not saying doing it all the time, but I'll go.
Speaking of, as just the smallest tangential aside. So tell me, I know you've seen your probably new favorite TV show, with how they did the Bad Girls Club and now they doing a Bad Boys Club.
No, I haven't seen it because
watch the trailer after when we get off of this.
Well, I've heard lots about it, but it's on Zeus, and I don't have Zeus.
Oh, it's the Where the Money Reside guy is on there. Kirk Franklin's son. Yeah. It's listen. I wonder sometimes if the people who think of these shows are being good stewards of their talents.
They are, because they know how to draw viewers in and how to make money. Because I'm not gonna lie, I want to see it. I just don't want to have to pay for a subscription.
Man, it's crazy. But I don't know.
You know I'm big on reality TV.
No, I know, and that's why when I saw the trailer for this, I went, yep. Not
even just reality TV though, like scripted TV. Like I have certain people that I talk about.
It's all scripted.
It is, but you know what I mean. Like real actors, not just regular dudes off the street.
Yeah.
But I have regular shows that I talk about with people. Like once it come out, like, did you watch so and so last night? Like, yeah. I also talked to your wife about our show that we watched. She's so far behind. I need for her to come on and get. But anyway,
she's working on that. But like, this blog post just hit me in so many different ways. Like I said, in terms of thinking about, especially you, like how many years you would not invest in a talent because you either would downplay your capability in it in a certain way, or it's just like, oh, that's just a hobby, or, you know, or something like that. So I was like, I almost did it again. I got to remember we're on the live. People would kill for the level of professionalism you take to certain talents and crafts and things that you have and talents and stuff. Your acting capability is bar none just exceptional, because it's not, with everything that I've seen you in terms of like, I mean, if you've done a range of plays and stuff, and majority of the time I'm literally always speaking about the rainbow colored girls. I can't think of
Color Girls.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. But like the emotional capacity that you have to do serious acting is something that a lot of people don't have. You see it on TV. You've watched enough TV, enough Lifetime and Hallmark TV to know people who couldn't play an emotional cue to save their life, let alone an emotional cue that's needed in for Color Girls, on top of everything else that you've done, whether it's planning an event. And that's why it was so hard for me to ever think that you would not be a good steward of like finances and stuff. Because the talent you possessed in all of your different gifts is something that I'm like, I don't understand why she just wouldn't do this. I don't understand why she just wouldn't do this. I don't like, you know, and I know sometimes I would often, except for the one time where I was like, look, ma'am, I know you, or you're joking about not wanting to go to college or whatever, but I swear to God. I know you're serious. I'm talking about where I was at the time with looking at you like, listen, fam, if you get a record deal or something like that before I get one, we gonna have a serious problem, because you walking on.
Well, let's be clear, because a lot of listeners may not have listened and they don't know what you're referencing. Okay. We talked about it, I think, when I talked about my faith journey and my faith walk, that I did not want to go to college when it was time to go to college. I was sincerely hoping the summer before college that I was just going to miraculously get a rap deal with my homegirl. Now, rapping is not my strong point at all, but I was like, hey, stranger things have happened.
This is a fact. And I didn't
want to go to college because I was very afraid. I was going to be a little fish in a big pond. It's one thing to do well in high school when, I don't know, my graduating class might have been 200 people. I'm not sure. I don't even think it was that many people. So my school wasn't just exceptionally large.
What number were you? What number? Where were you?
Right. I was like number 5. I wasn't number 1.
Bruh. See this that right there.
I was like number 5. Let's say I was number 5 through 7. I don't remember, but I know I wasn't
right there. It doesn't. But I'm like top 10, bro. Like in 200 people, it's top 10, fam.
It doesn't matter.
You were even able to pull somebody else up. It like, fam. What are you doing?
Can you listen to me?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, yo.
It didn't matter to me. Because college is a whole entirely different level. And the laziness that I had in high school and the just getting it done that I had in high school was not going to cut it in college. I was terrified. I was terrified that I was not going to be able to graduate. It just seemed like an impossible dream to me. And I know that seems weird to you, but I'm being so serious. I'm being so honest.
I know you are. And that's the part that like always confuses me about you. It's like you, and I've said this about you and Kane, which is like, y'all are the most structured people in regards to a study habit. So if you feel like you're doing terrible in a class or whatever, y'all have this zoning thing where y'all have like processes that y'all will go through, which is like, you personally might be struggling with something. You go and talk to the teachers because that's the thing that we've been taught to do. You had your friend group of study partners. You had flashcards because I remember doing the flashcards with you guys one time. Like, yeah. You had so many things.
Because I was terrified of failure,
but what I'm saying is like proper preparation and that whole thing is what you always had. So even in your fear, you were still more prepared than somebody that would let that fear, that would run away from the fear.
I wanted to, but my mama wouldn't let me. She told me I had to go to college. I couldn't stay at her house.
Either way, you still did it, is what I'm saying. Like, she still pushed you off the other
side. I thank God on the other side that I finished it, because I think it was like my sophomore year of college. I had a heart-to-heart talk with her. I was like, for real, sis, like, it's time for me to come up out of here. Like, I can't do this no more. She was like, you just wait till after Christmas break. You know, you're just tired. And we'll discuss it again before you go.
We haven't discussed nothing. That's the Beverly Jean. Man, listen, the only person she means that with is me, because she know. And the talk is, you got until Christmas break to get your stuff together, or you coming home.
I have instances. You may not. I know you don't see this about me, but I can be a procrastinator. Like, well, I have been in the past. Like, the older I've gotten, I have not been able to procrastinate as much because things are so much bigger. And like, if I procrastinate, I won't ever be able to finish. Go ahead.
This is still showing your talent. Because again, even if you do procrastinate, and females, and this is something I will say to all the young men out there, a woman procrastinating in college is always going to be different from your procrastination. Your procrastination will result in a failure to complete an assignment. Her procrastination might be coming to spend time with you. Y'all are there until like way late. She either finished half of the homework, a quarter of the homework, went back, then did the homework, whether she's getting a C, barely passing, whatever it is, there are levels to this. And
There
you
are
are one of
levels
those
to this.
people.
But
Like,
let me make this point, and this is really true. Just imagine, like, you think I'm so awesome, you think I do so well. Just imagine how God could use me if I use my time effectively.
that's the thing. But that's
Just
the other part.
imagine.
Amen. So that's more to you to understand how he kept, like, you were giving your, as you said, the reason you were kept is because in all things you were still giving your tithe. You were giving a 10% aspect of yourself, and your 10% is still top 10 in high school. You graduated with honors of some kind
In high school?
in college, yes?
No, not in college. I just graduated college. I didn't graduate with honors. I
Did you graduate in
graduated.
grad school? Did you not?
No, I didn't graduate with honors. Let me tell you, an A in grad school was like a 92 or 93. A B stopped at like it was ridiculous. A B stopped at like a 85. Anything under 85 was a C. Like, so I graduated with honors because I graduated, my dude. Like, but it was ridiculous.
But either way, point still stands. I don't care how you qualify it or try and factually, like, no, fam. Like, the things that you did, the impact that you had on top of that. So I am amazed by that. I'm also, like, amazed more by God and the fact that it's like, man, to think that if this was your minimal effort, if your maximum effort, what would that have looked like?
And I'm not even talking about the past. I'm talking about right now.
I
If I
know.
give if I give him all of me, if I truly just let go and follow him and listen to his voice and stop being afraid and just do what he told me without reservation, if I honestly let go, what could he do in my life? Could he do with your life? What could he do with the listeners' lives? And that is a constant struggle I have. I have not yet arrived. And reading the blog reminded me, girl, you got some stuff you need to get under control.
I mean, I still battle with the methods that I had to go through to trust myself. Well, not the methods that I had to go through, but the methods that God took me through in these past 2 years. Because I know that if things are different, if every one of our family members are still here, while I was thinking about moving, I would have been more complacent and comfortable, because the plan that we had, for getting up here was way different, obviously, especially before everything accelerated and we just had to get up here. Or doors opened, I should say. I want to give proper credit to God for that. And it's still scary. It's haunting sometimes to try and think about being in a completely different state. Enemy tried to get me the other day where it's like I'm driving down these roads and I, like, for like 5 seconds, I had this feeling like this don't feel like home. And I'm like, bruh, you know what God told you about this place. You know the blessings and things that are gonna happen. And fam, like, the roads ain't what make you feel home. Like, there are certain things about it. Like, it's the other parts of, we'll drive somewhere now and I, like, immediately know where I'm at, how to get back home, and everything else. And it, continues to grow in terms of how far out that I've driven and things of that nature. But it's like, God is opening doors, is shifting things, is moving things, is growing me in so many different ways for just trying to pour into my gifts. Does the financial compensation come in what I think is the quickest way? No. But the earnesty of like when we record a podcast or I finish a video and I post it, and sometimes I can be I'm trying to stop being overly critical of every video I put up. Or I finished a song or whatever it is. The general joy of being able to do those things and trying to get back into that creative space where I'm actually just happy to be working with God in the things that he's given me, has been rewarding. The more we do this, the better we get, the better the more guests we get on, the more people that want to talk, how the conversations go, our conversations on and off air, especially now that we're, not literally right down the road from one another. I don't know. It's been a good steward in that realm to my soul. Because when we talk, I feel, I feel the pouring more. Like we are pouring more into each other and trying to say, hey, we have to use our gifts. A shout out to Scratch Crafts. We have to use our gifts. There's no other option. Like, what legacy are we saying if we take all of the things that God placed in us and if we don't use them?
Right. It's definitely a responsibility. And I think the more time that I am consistent with podcasting, it just highlights the fact that I really do need to go back to blogging every day. I need to use my gifts. This reading Good Steward is another reminder. Girl, you may not feel like it, but this is a gift that the Lord has given you and you need to use it. And so, I feel the pull to write more and more. I feel the pull and then I resist it. Of course, God is way stronger than me, so he could just yank me and be like, sit down and write. But he doesn't do that. And I'm thankful that God is patient with me, and that he is merciful, but I don't want to take that for granted. So it's up to me to be a good steward. It's up to me to take all that God has given me and remember that it's his and offer it back up to him. And that's my responsibility. So that's all I have to say about good stewardship. It's not always an easy thing to do for me. Some people may find it, you may be stronger in some areas than others. But my hope and my prayer is that this is an encouragement for people to use your gifts, your time, your talent, your 10th, and give it all to God. Give him what he deserves, because he's definitely worthy of it.
And I will say this is also a reminder of how the blog started. Like, I remember how many nights you would be like, between this time and this time, I have to write. I didn't want to do it, but I went ahead and I did it. I mean, that was a continual plight of the blog. And I'd always be like, yeah, it's something that, inspired me. Because we started our podcast. I mean, not that I didn't already have another podcast, but we started our podcast basically at the same time, or we were going to. But I had that one day at work where I was like, I'm starting today. Because they got me all the way messed up. But I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the fact that you don't give up. I mean, I think a lot of times the best quality...
You don't think I give up?
The best quality of yours is you might put something on the shelf, but you don't throw it away.
Okay.
Because all the time you'll be like, man, somebody asked me about... Like, even when we're... Man, somebody asked me about the podcast, the fits in working with God, and kept bringing you that pen.
Yes. I told that story, I think, in a blog. I haven't told it on the podcast. I'll share that quickly, because a lot of times we drop stuff that we talk about in conversation, so I don't want people to feel lost. But I did write about it in a blog. After everybody died, I stopped writing because I didn't have the energy. I didn't have the wherewithal. I didn't have the words. The words I had were all sad, gloom, and doom. I am so sad. And how many times does somebody want to read that or hear about it? And also, I was trying to process my losses, and just grieving. And so I was not writing. Well, y'all, I woke up one morning and literally every pen in my house that my cat could get his hands on, I was surrounded by pens in my bed, and it was freaky. I'm like, why are you doing this? Does that like, Lord, you trying to tell me I need to write? But I was in such a sunken place that I couldn't pick up a pen. I just didn't have it in me. Now, it didn't just happen one time. And it's not something that would happen every night. It would just happen randomly where I would wake up and literally every pen in the house he would have brought and covered me in them while I slept during the night. And so on some of those occasions, I would get up and write a blog, and he would leave me alone for a while. And so, yeah, that's the pen story.
Mm-hmm. So, I think that I'm grateful to God for the things that he is bringing us through. I feel like every time you and I have sat down and said, hey, this is what we're going to do, in accepting the call and working with God, because the point of all of this in being a good steward is that you are choosing to allow God to guide your life. And
correct. You have to make that conscious decision.
And you have to make that choice every day.
Every day, honey.
We got
every day.
So many blessings through starting this podcast. Like I think our grief goes way differently without it.
I think so too.
I think maybe we harbor regrets or harbor all kinds of different feelings, whereas there are so many prophetic messages throughout the podcast, throughout the blogs, that you can tell that this is blessed by the Lord. And I'm glad that we are continuing once more to be good stewards over this podcast and just talk about faith walks. And sometimes I know it sounds like general conversation, but I always want to be clear that when we're talking about these things, it's just us dealing and being honest about the fact that we're dealing. I saw some like I've seen Michael Todd. I've heard of him. I've probably seen a couple things from him here and there. But he was having this conversation with this NBA player or something like that. I don't know whose podcast it was or whatever. But I had garnered this more respect for him. And it's a funny thing to gain respect for somebody for this. But he was just talking to the dude and he was cussing. And I was like, all right. I see you, bro. Not like, and not in a way of like, I need you to cuss to feel like you authentic. But in a way of, oh, you cuss sometimes and you don't act like you don't. You know that This is going out into the webs, and it may be something, you're working through or working to not do as much or whatever. Or it might just be something you do and you just, don't do it in the pulpit when you are professing things because you don't need that to illustrate a point or whatever. But, yeah, I'm thankful for the opportunity you've blessed me with by actually deciding to do this in the first place on both ends. Because your writing is something that I think is immaculate. I really enjoy it. I've always enjoyed your writing.
Why, thank you. So, you see how I'm just taking compliments?
I mean, yeah, but that's normal. It's normal.
No. And also, let me tell you, when I was talking to Kanae last night, my sister, she gave me the biggest compliment, which I will tell you off air. And I was like, you know what? I have told this story to your husband, to this person, to that person. And never once did they highlight my growth. I couldn't even see the growth in the story. She was like, you know what? This highlights how much you have grown.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I was in the room at that point. I was in the room. Yeah. So, but yes, no, true.
It does.
Trill spill. Yes, it does. But I mean, you've been exponentially growing over the past 5 years, period. The past 5 years of us being married and before we got married, the way you grew in understanding our relationship, the way you grew through therapy, the way we grew through growing the business, like events that you've done, the way we grew through grief, the way you grew through even now job changes, being able
I'm not scared to
to
change a job. I tell you that.
no, but still the being where you are now is still something that I think is great, and the actual even the growth in having fits is growth. Like
Yeah, because I'm not really a cat person. I love my cat, but
no, but that
no.
was a an opening of your heart in terms of that growth. The growth in how you handle relationships with difficult and trying people.
Yeah.
The growth in your year of craziness. That
Which year?
the
It's been a
year,
lot of those.
well,
You talking about relationship
the year
wise?
with he who shall not be named. No, I ain't,
Okay, but you
because
know
you've
what?
regressed, but it's all right.
I did not regress, baby.
Whatever.
I am back. Grief had me down. Grief had me not in my right mind. I'm back, baby. It took me a year, but I'm back.
But
Ah,
you're being a good, like, I think if you look at each year of your growth, there at some point it was you pouring into a gift
can I say something
to
now?
me.
Like we touched on this a little bit, and then I'm done with it. But I have high expectations for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have high expectations for other people. So you may look at me and be like, oh, she's really grown. But, I know me on the inside of me. And I know I could do more. I could be more. I could be better. And so that is why I'm saying, like, I need to be a better steward of what's inside of me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm also giving you an appreciation of the steps
But
that you
thank you
have
for
taken.
helping me or trying to help me appreciate where I am now,
Right.
you know, and not being so hard on me.
No,
Because I was
because
talking to my bestie the other day and we were having this hypothetical discussion and she was like, you wouldn't do that? I was like, no, I would tell them they need to go find somebody else because I'm not good enough for the job or whatever. And she was like, girl, you crazy.
I be feeling like you just want to fight, bro.
I
Like,
don't want to fight, but I was like,
why do you? Okay, let's
but
unpack
yes,
this. Let's unpack
let's,
this right now.
okay.
And we're gonna unpack this. We're gonna pray over it at the end of this. Why do you downgrade yourself in capability of a task that everybody else?
Well, no, this task that I was discussing with my bestie is not a task that everybody else could do. I felt like in this hypothetical situation, you
Uh
need to go to the best, and that ain't me. Like, you're not going to be pressuring me.
I don't know, fam.
He's like, this is a great opportunity. She was like, you would really say no, girl? Yes. I probably would say H now.
Okay, but I mean, you've done that less, but you do tend to think in this. Okay, here's the message as given to me by God. God is never asking for you to compare yourself to anybody else in whatever field that is being required of you. What he is telling you on the front end is that you are the person that is qualified for this job. You're going to do it. And when you do it, it is going to be in excellence and in the glory and in blessing. Because again, there could have been someone else like that wasn't Noah. There could have been someone else that wasn't Moses, Ruth, Deborah, uh, you know, so many different people that could have, like, if when you look at and read through those
Here's,
scriptures.
I get it, Joe. What I'm saying to you is,
right.
if it's God calling me, I'll do it, and I'll do it scared.
Okay.
Like starting this blog, I did it, and I did it scared.
Okay.
I did not want to have to share my life with people, did not want to put my writing out, because it's not ever gonna be perfect. And not saying that I'm not, I know I'm not perfect, and that's the problem. I don't want people to be able to pick holes in me because I pick enough holes in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did the blog and I did it scared. I'm doing the podcast and I'm doing it scared. Like, this is still something I battle with. I'm not like, let me get on a mic.
Except for when I be like, nah.
When you don't want me on the mic, of course, then I want to be on the mic. That's one of the perks of being a big sister and messing with your little brother.
We were watching our old music video the other day, and your sister in love was like, there she go. I said, get out of here. Stop. I'm like, let's not.
You better hype me up.
No, it's the one place where I will always, because you just no.
So I don't know, like I don't know. I don't know what to say. All I do know is I do need to be a better steward of my time, my talents, my 10th, and then everything over the 10th that I feel like is quote unquote mine is still his. Mm-hmm. And I need to be more mindful of the way and I spend my money and my time, child, and my talents.
Mm-hmm. You got a lot of them, and I'm thankful to the fact that you're stepping out, because your talents bless people in ways that there's a comforting if somebody asks you to do something, because not only do they know that it's going to be done, they know that it's going to be done in excellence, and it's going to be done in ways that they did not picture. Whether it was the things you did for my wedding, the things you did for Devin and Ari's wedding, like the literal words that people say to you, which shows how God inspired.
I was going to say, what did I do for your wedding? But I remember.
Yeah, I was going to say the literal God inspired things that you do. People always say, man, I didn't know what was in my head, but this is it. You know, that's something that I know you've continuously heard, no matter what it is. And you're like, oh my God, like this is far and beyond, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are missing an affirmer in your life, someone to tell you are awesome, you can pay me some money and I will have Bible study brother hype you up. I appreciate you, bro. I want you to know that.
Thank you guys. Okay, it's too much. But I mean, I say it in truth. I've been trying to make sure, like, initially, like when you
brother,
would say it,
I have my roses. Thank you. You trying to give me my flowers?
No. I was. Okay. What I'm saying is clarifying the thing that you just said, which is I always end up taking it a certain way, which is I've been focusing more on the fact that I'm not saying it to be saying it, because I don't got to. Like, and I don't. And I do not. Like, you know, if I do not like somebody, it don't matter what they do.
Can I tell you something? I just was talking to Canadian just last night. When people ask me a question, I'm not going to lie to you, but I did lie. I told her, I was like, did this person make me lie to her? I didn't want to hurt that feeling.
But they knew is the thing.
And that's what I told her. I was like, I know they could tell I was lying because I was so caught up. And it made me feel bad, but like, don't ask me. Just don't ask.
Yeah, like we ain't got to do all that. But just my prayer for each and every person that's listening is you understand kind of what it means in terms of tithes. That tithes is not just a monetary thing. Tithes is you continuously have to wake up every day and give yourself over to what God has for your life, how he's going to lead you, how he wants you to walk. I pray you read the blog, because like I said, these things are intensifying in a way that I was not expecting for them to. Like, we read them every day and thinking like, oh, that's kind of quick. The excellence of your testimonies and your writing is that, bro, it could be two paragraphs, but there's not a word that's wasted. You completely allow the Spirit to use you in honesty and in truth. And this is something that in these last couple of years, so many people have been conflicted with feeling like you were not being a good steward of your time because you had so much more of it. So many people were faced with feeling like, by all of these quote unquote so-called motivators, and so if you didn't come out of the COVID era with a full business proposal, you did it wrong, and all of these different things. And it's like, that's not, to me, building into somebody or planting the seeds for them to do whatever their purpose is. I feel like this blog especially is something that you should read because it's something that will steer you towards living a purpose-filled life. And being a good steward, not just of your tithes, but of your time, of your mind, of your talents. Because you could tithe the rest of your life and it doesn't mean that you didn't bury your talents in the sand and didn't multiply nothing. Like, so just be aware, and read the blogs, read along with us. I think it's something that will bless your soul, because if you're looking for blog posts, they are going to pop up every day over at the BibleStudyGirl.com. Go and check that site out. If you want to hit us on the socials to give us a testimony, if you want to ask us for prayer requests or anything, we don't have any yet. So when we do, we will start praying for you guys. But
it won't be on the air. I won't be like, and I'm praying for Sister Sheila because her toe hurt. It won't be that. But I have made it, when we talk about being good stewards of our time, and then I'm gonna let you finish your wrap up. But when we talk about being good stewards of our time, I have been more intentional about my prayer life. And so, listen, if you need somebody to pray for you, I'm your girl. It's one of my new things.
But like I said, sending any of those things in.
Now, I can't guarantee the Lord going to answer, because I'm going to say this. Let me tell you something. Tamika was the prayer warrior in my life. And so I feel that void. I miss that void. I feel like the Lord really heard her voice. Not that he doesn't hear my voice, but I feel like he responded to her. Like I feel like prayer was one of her special gifts and was like one of her special anointings. And so there's definitely been a drop, decrease, and decline over here, and I need to be more connected to God, and the only way for that to happen is if I have more communication with him. And so that is why the prayer lines have been open, and even if I don't pray for myself, I know that I will pray for other people. So there you go.
Okay. On Twitter, you can hit us up at Bible Study Girl, the number 2. On Instagram or Facebook, it's Bible Study Girl. So just look us up.
Instagram is _ Bible Study Girl.
And I do that every week recently. _ Bible Study Girl, excuse me. But it's Facebook is Bible Study Girl. And then where you'll send your prayer requests and things of that nature is to BibleStudyGirl2019@gmail.com. As always, people, it's not the up, the down, the west side or the east side preach, but we preach.
And until we meet again, guys, keep preaching.